good? Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay. 阿弥陀佛。
Okay, we're good. Amitofo.
我们要开始请法了。
You can use the microphone over here. Using Weishers. That one I turn on. So if you just use that one, it'll be easier. So, 用这个吧。这个上面的有一位。Okay, so good evening, everyone. Welcome to our Sutra lecture. Just getting a little bit prepared today because we have people in different places. Monks and laymen are down at Rudra Vihara doing some work. But we'll begin our Sutra lecture shortly with our Dharma Request. 所以欢迎大家，我们在1分钟就开始请法然后来研究无量寿经。好。好，请大家合掌。Please put your palms together. We can request the presence of the 3 jewels and the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas and the ocean-wide assembly of a lotus pool assembly of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. 好，我们大家来请三宝、诸佛菩萨跟莲池海会佛菩萨。Yeah. Oh, you just put it on your left ear? Over. Yeah. Yeah, that's okay. Yeah.
恭敬大德僧听，为此法会济一切众生，请转妙法轮，教导我们如何疗伤脱色离苦得乐，速证无生。Will the Sangha with great virtue, out of compassion, for the sake of this assembly and all living beings, please turn the wonderful Dharma wheel to teach us how to leave suffering and attain bliss and end birth and death, and quickly realize non-birth.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sammasambuddhassa.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sammasambuddhassa.
Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfect enlightened one.
Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one.
Namo Saranto Sujedoye Alahati Samya Sambuddhose.
Namo Saranto Suchedoye Alahadi Sanmyao Sambuddhose.
无上甚深微妙法，百千万劫难遭遇。我今见闻得受持，愿解如来真实义。
Supreme and wondrous Dharma, subtle and profound, rarely is encountered, even in billions of eons. But now we see and hear it and accept it reverently. May we truly understand the Buddha's actual meaning. All Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, Venerable Master, Dharma Master, and all good and wise friends present and online, Amitofo. Tonight we will continue to investigate the Infinite Life Sutra, and we'll begin by reciting the Buddha's name.
Yep.
Yep.
我们来念几分钟佛号。Yeah.
我们开始来念佛。Move closer. We have our tech team here, our tech person. The wonders of modern technology. We have many analogies for the Pure Land and modern technology, but the technology in the Pure Land is actually all for great compassion and wisdom. Sometimes in our world, the technology is for greed and power and control. But we can make it work for Dharma too. 好，我们现在来念佛。
Yeah. 好。
Namo Amitophaya. Namo
弥陀佛，南无阿弥陀佛，南无阿弥陀佛，南无阿弥陀佛，阿弥陀佛，阿弥陀佛，阿弥陀佛，阿弥陀佛，阿弥陀佛，阿弥陀佛，阿弥陀佛，阿弥陀佛，阿弥陀佛，阿弥陀佛，阿弥陀佛，阿弥陀佛，阿弥陀佛，阿弥陀佛，阿弥陀佛，阿弥陀佛，阿弥陀佛，阿弥陀佛，阿弥陀佛，阿弥陀佛，阿弥陀佛，阿弥陀佛，阿弥陀佛。好，可以了。我们今天是在70页，经文是在70页开始。
So we're going to be starting page 70 and 71.
也70页英文的第2行开始。
Page 70, the second section.
所以第2行一直下来到这个6根清澈无诸恼患
So there's this whole second paragraph in the page 70.
我们先大家一起来念中文一遍，然后英文一遍，我们再来解释经文。OK， 好，一起念咯。西风吹动出妙法，在这里啊。
西风啊，微风。
微风
，OK。
微风徐动出妙法音，普流十方一切佛国，其闻因者得生法忍，诸不退转自成佛道，不遭苦患，目睹其色，耳闻其声，鼻知其香，舌尝其味，身触其光，心以法缘，一切皆得甚深法宝，诸不退转自成佛道，六根清澈无诸恼患。OK。
恼患。
好，英文的，在70页。
没有，其实新的。71页，看一下。我写经佛学 Chinese is different than mine. Okay. Page 71. We can when a gentle breeze blows. When a gentle breeze blows. That's it. When a gentle breeze blows, the trees produce innumerable, wondrous Dharma sounds that pervade all Buddha lands. Those who hear these sounds will realize the profound patience of Dharmas. Never retreating on the path to awakening, they will realize Buddhahood and be free of suffering and worries. Those whose eyes see the trees, ears hear their sounds, nose smells their fragrance, tongue tastes their flavors, bodies touch their light, and minds reflect on their various qualities, will realize the profound patience of Dharmas. Never retreating on the path to awakening, they will realize Buddhahood. their 6 faculties remain pure and clear, and they will be free of afflictions and worries.
OK， 好，这样子就我们来稍微解释，简单的解释。那这个经文以后，我们再来比较更深入一点的来跟大家一起研究。它这个微风徐动啊，就是说微风啊，徐徐的吹动啊，就是发出美妙的这个法的声音呢，出妙法音，普流十方，就是普遍流布到十方的一切国土，普流十方一切国土。其闻音者，就是听到这个法音的人呢，他就可以得到甚深的这个法忍。你要了解这样。
So here, the sutra text says that there's a wind that blows through these trees. We're talking about the trees in Amitabha Buddha's Pure Land. And as this wind blows, there's this kind of beautiful, subtle sound of Dharma that then pervades all the various Buddha lands. And these sounds actually, you could say, deeply impact those who hear it. So much so that they actually realize the profound patience of dharmas, and they don't retreat on the path to awakening and realize Buddhahood until they realize Buddhahood and are completely free of suffering and worries.
所以呢，他这个就是而且呢，他会安住在这个不退转的这个法理啊，不退转，自成佛道，一直到成就这个佛道，不遭苦患，都不会遭受到苦厄患难的这些事情。所以这个就是最重要这个吹风吹动以后，听到这个声音，你可以一直到这个成佛道。
So I just already spoke about this, but they don't retreat on the path to awakening when they hear these sounds.
那后面呢，他又继续在讲这个继续讲的这个目啊。我们的眼睛啊、耳朵啊、鼻子啊，这个6根方面呢，所以他讲啊，目睹其色，我们眼睛看到了这个颜色呢，耳朵耳闻其声，耳朵听到了声音呢，还有鼻知其香，鼻子所嗅到的这个香气，舌尝其味，我们的舌头呢。尝到了这个法味，这个味道呢，还有身触其光，我们的身体所碰到的这个光明，这个法的光明呢，以及心与法言，还有心意上的所接触到的这个法言，这些都是可以得到深深的这个法忍，然后一直到。这个住在不退转里面呢，一直到成佛道。
So all those who see the trees, hear their sounds, smell their fragrance, taste their flavors, touch their light with their bodies, and also have their minds reflect on the trees, they will realize a patience that's very profound. And they will not retreat on the path to awakening, realizing Buddhahood. And their 6 faculties will be clear and pure, free of afflictions and worries.
所以呢，这个就是在讲我们6根，眼耳鼻舌身意，所以这个6根都会得到非常的清净，特色的，你没有种种的这个烦恼苦恼的事情啊，这个就是 今天的这个经文重点。
So the faculties will be pure and clear. These are the eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, and mind. And we'll be free from all suffering and difficulties and worries and afflictions.
所以这个其实这个今天的经文是接上星期一的经文啊，上星期四的经文，上星期四的经文，大部分也都是在描述这个极乐世界的殊胜道场数，道场啊有多高啊，有多宽啊，枝叶有多长啊，而且这个都是由那个游行或者是里来计算，都是非常宽大的。这个不是我们这个娑婆世界所能够有的这个道场数。
So last week we talked about this Bodhi tree, the tree of awakening, and this is in the Amitabha Buddhist Pure Land, and talked about how the tree was huge, miles in height and in width and diameter. And so this tree is far larger than any tree we have here in the Saha world.
那今天的经文，就是在来表示极乐国度的众生呢，他听到这个法音以后，他所获得的利益，还有众生他六根啊，也是获得法音的这个觉知，能够觉醒之道的利益，所以呢，他是用这个慧心安法，能够得到很深的这个法忍来最后成就佛国的。
Sorry， 我听不懂你刚才讲中文。他是说，他哪边？刚才你是说在这里。
对。
So tonight we were talking about Amitabha Buddha's Pure Land, the living beings who are able to hear this sound of Dharma and receive a real support and benefits. And these living beings' six senses will then also touch this Dharma sound, and they will have a kind of awakening and clear understanding. And their mind of wisdom will be able to rest in the Dharma and also realize a deep, profound patience all the way to realizing Buddhahood.
所以呢，这个众生的这个极乐国的众生呢，他是没有众苦，只有众乐，是名极乐。这个是佛在《无量寿经》清口跟舍利佛所说的，在《阿弥陀经》里面的一些开示。
So in the Pure Land of Amitabha Buddha, Shakyamuni Buddha says how in this land there's only happiness and there's no suffering. This is how Shakyamuni Buddha described the Pure Land.
所以呢，在我们娑婆世界的众生呢，所以就不同了。我们有八苦，至少都有八苦，还有说不完的苦。在佛教里面呢，他讲这个八苦呢，就是生老病死苦啦，还有这个爱别离苦啦，怨憎会苦啊，求不得苦啊，还有五阴四圣苦啊，这个种八种。
So in the Pure Land there's no suffering, but in our world there is a lot of suffering. We have the 8 sufferings, and we have also other kind of various sufferings. So the 8 sufferings are old age, sickness, and death. I think birth, old age, sickness, and death, that's 4. Being apart from those you love, not being able to get what you want. There's what's another one? Shiga, being with those you dislike. And they say the burning heat of the 5, clinging to the 5 skandhas. Meaning that if we hold on to form, feeling, perception, kind of some scar or volitional patterns, or consciousness, if we cling to those and identify with those, then we really suffer. Why? Because they constantly change, and when they change, and we don't want them to change, then we suffer.
所以呢，这个八苦呢，其实每一个人都是逃不掉的。你不论是多高的国王啊、大臣啊、高官啊、男女啊，都会碰到这个人生的苦难的这一些，也可能还有更多。所以这个是最少的这个八苦。
So this kind of suffering is completely pervades the Saha world. Even if you're extremely wealthy or a king, it doesn't you can say preclude you from having these kinds of suffering.
那要怎样子来避开像这些苦难呢？在我们的人生当中，当然这个还是有方法的，也就是第一个，我们要学习佛法。像学习佛法有可以念佛啊，念净土法门啊，参禅这个参禅的法门啊，参禅你可以开悟啊，明心见性啊，还有持咒，还有诵经，还有持戒，这个在仙公上人的就是五宗啊。
So how do we avoid the suffering in the Saha world? One way is to really learn and study the Buddha Dharma, recite the Buddha's name, or study the sutras and recite the sutras, or uphold mantras, or hold the precepts, or investigate Chan. So these are the 5 schools that Master Hua explained that are different, you can say, approaches to cultivation.
所以呢，这个在佛陀灭度以后呢，这个当然的佛法就一直传到现在嘛。现在我们有几乎2-3千年了。那这个佛陀刚离开，就是灭度以后呢，的一位优婆吉尊者，他度化我今天把这个度化一老比丘的这个故事，其实这个是有一位他得到这个圣国的这个比丘尼，这一个故事，我想蛮有意思的，跟大家来分享这个。
So I would like to share a story. This is after during the Buddha's time, I think, and you could say the Buddha Dharma after Buddha's nirvana has been transmitted down to us today after thousands of years. And so here's a story from the Buddha's time about a monk named Upali.
这个呢，这个就是刚才讲的，就是说涅槃啊，佛涅槃就是他往生了以后的100年呢，在这个优婆吉多尊者的时代呢，也就是说阿育王在位的时候呢，他有一位天护长者呢，他发动很多人去海上去采宝。我们以前也有讲过，有七宝啊，好多宝啊，都是去海里面去取宝的。
So during the time of King Ashoka, so this story is actually 100 years after the Buddha. There was a venerable named Upali, and during the King Ashoka's time, there was also an elder layman who got many people to go out into the ocean to look for treasures. We talked about the 7 kinds of treasures before, right? There's like coral, there's pearls, there's gold and silver, and all these various kinds, lapis lazuli. There's grand clam shells and carnelian. So all these kinds of treasures that are in the ocean, he motivated people to go and see if they can find some.
所以呢，他发了愿以后，也非常顺利的就能够得宝回来。然后他回来以后呢，他要举办一个武者大会，供养来，就是沙门出家人这一些要来供养。
So the elder layman was actually quite successful. The expedition went very smoothly, and they came back with lots of treasures. So afterwards, he wanted to make an offering, a big offering to all the monastics.
所以呢，当时有一位算得到圣道的阿罗汉比丘尼，他也知道这个事情，他就入定观察这一件事情呢，有没有成功？他观察到成功了。那武者大会举办了没有？举办了。那有多少人会来参加呢？他说会有僧团的阿罗汉有18000人。
18000的阿罗汉啊。
Yeah,会来参加。
So there was a arhat who was a bhikshuni, and she reflected on this this whole expedition, what happened. So she had entered samadhi, and she reflected and saw, oh wow, the expedition was quite successful, and now that they're having a kind of banquet, a great giving banquet, to make an offering to all the monastics, and she reflected, how many will show up, and she could see 18,000 arhats will actually come.
他因为这个出家众很多他就很多人都会来，他又看一看这些来的人呢，谁是第一上座？因为这个刚才讲的有个老比丘呢，他是很老，但是他没有得到这个圣道，所以他只有持戒清净而已，所以呢，他的戒腊是最高的。
So she also reflected, who's the foremost, most senior of the monastics? And she saw as an elder monk. But this elder monk was not a sage. He hadn't realized any stage of awakening. But he held the precepts purely.
所以呢，这个依照我们这个佛的规定呢，不管你是出国、2国、3国、4国、5国，或者没有未得果的比丘呢，他是以戒就是说你受戒为来界定的，就像我跟净传师一样，我们一起受戒，但是我是站在前面受，就比净传师什么时候都是走在前面，这个就是一种规矩啦，佛教的一个受戒者，就会走在这个前面，那后面受戒者就走在后面。
So this is the Buddha's, you could say, vinaya, or regulations. That those who took the precepts earlier have more seniority and stand in front, and those who get junior are in the back. It does not go by level of awakening. So for instance, Jingfo Shi and myself, Jingfo Shi, although we took the Bhikshu precepts together, Jingfo Shi actually became a novice earlier than I did. Also, he's older in age. And so he lined up in front of me when we took the precepts. And so Jingfo Shi was a little bit joking, so he's always in front of me, which is true, always in front of me, which is probably good.
那这个当时这个比丘尼阿罗汉，他就在定中里面去看，这个第一位这个凡夫比丘老比丘呢，年纪最大，但是他还没有得这个圣道，就是他还没有证到这个阿罗汉的这个圣道，他有没有这个得到证道这个因缘呢？他观察说，有的是有的，他有 这个因缘的。
So this bhikshuni reflected on this senior monk who was still ordinary monk, reflecting, does he have the conditions to actually become a sage, to realize, a stage of awakening? And she looked into it and says, yeah, he does. He has some potential to wake up.
所以呢，这个比丘尼呢，就特地来看这个老比丘，跟老比丘顶礼之后呢，就跟这个老比丘说啊，你应该好自端严，跟他说你要好自己要能够庄严一点，说完以后就走了。
So she came to this older monk and paid her respects, and then said to him, you need to maintain a kind of a deportment that's very inspiring, that's very kind of dignified. And after she said that, she left.
那这个老比丘听到的这个话以后呢，什么事情啊？我是不是很久没有剃除这个头发啦？头发长长啦，胡子也长长啦，那我就是来理发、剃发，就这样子。
So the senior old monk reflected, why would she say that to me? Is my hair too long? Do I have a beard or something? Maybe I should cut my hair. And because she said maybe my appearance isn't appropriate.
所以呢，这个老比丘尼，他做了这个剃发啦、剃须啊、胡须啊，之后呢，老比丘尼又来到他的这个来观察这个老比丘，好像他没有听懂他的话，然后他又过来，给这个来这个老比丘尼，这个比丘尼又来跟他作礼，跟他顶礼，然后跟这个老比丘讲啊，你要好自端严，你要做好这个更庄严的这样子。
So the monk cut his hair and kind of brushed up his appearance. And so the bhikshuni later realized, oh, I don't think he understood what I meant. So she came back and bowed again and said, you really need to work on having an awe-inspiring or dignified way of being.
所以他这个老比丘听了这个比丘尼又跟他讲，不端庄的这个事情，但是他已经理了头发啦，又剃了须啦，现在还说我不端庄，是不是我衣服破烂啊，颜色不对啊？所以他就去把衣服洗一洗啊，然后又染一染啊，然后补一补啊，这样子又把这个衣服的这样子穿好，然后就坐好在那里。
So after he heard this, he thought to himself, she says the same thing to me. Is it because maybe my clothes are in bad shape? My robes need to be cleaned or patched. So he took his robes and he cleaned them and he patched them to kind of make them more, you could say, dignified.
所以呢，这个比丘尼呢，他又入定观察，这个老比丘依然没有听懂我的话，然后呢，他这个比丘尼又来跟这个老比丘说。大德啊，你要好自庄严啊。
So this bhikshuni again entered samadhi and reflected and saw that this monk had not understood what she meant. So she came back again, bowed, and said, oh, senior monk, venerable one, you need to really have a dignified way of being, a kind of inspiring appearance.
Yeah. 所以呢，这个时候老比丘就有一点发火了，就说：“我已经2次都说，你2次都说我不庄严，我已经理了发、剃了须，衣服我都重新换过，怎么样子还不庄严，还不端庄呢？”
So after the monk heard this like the third time, he got a little bit angry. He said, "What? Well, you already told me this twice. I cut my hair, and I've washed the robes and kind of brushed up everything, patched everything. Why do you keep telling me that my appearance is not dignified?
所以呢，这时候这个得到阿罗汉的比丘尼就跟他说啊，我们佛教里呀、佛教徒啊，在佛法中呢，不是看外表庄严为庄严，不是的，不是当然也不是说剃头发啦，然后身穿的很好的衣服啊为庄严，是要得圣道才可以说是庄严。像你能够得到悉陀梵、斯那含、阿那含、阿罗汉，这个才是真正的庄严，不是而且呢，你得到这些呢，你身清净，你说话会清净，还有就是刚才讲的这个六根都是清净，这是时候才是庄严。
So she said, because when I say you need to be adorned in your way of being or appearance, I do not mean that you need to adorn your outside. In Buddhism, real, you can say, adornment or this kind of inspiring presence or a dignified kind of way of being does not come from the outside. It comes from the inside. It's not how much we can shave our heads and put on nice robes and so on and so forth. It's not outside. It's inside. And it's based on can we really realize a stage of awakening, Shotapanas, Anagamin, and so forth, right? The various stages of awakening of an arhat. From there, then we're truly noble and truly dignified. Our body will be naturally pure, and our minds will also be pure.
所以呢，他是说好是端庄啊、庄严的这个，我是要你去修圣道、断烦恼的意思啦。然后这个老比丘听了以后就哭了。
So she said, "So when I tell you to, work on having a dignified, inspiring presence, I would say, I mean for you to truly wake up and cut off all afflictions." And when this old monk heard this, he started crying.
这个哭了以后，就跟这个比丘尼讲啊，我年纪大了，不能够努力来修数念次啦。我一静坐下来就打瞌睡，我心没有力量，已经真的不能够努力了。
So he cries and says, I'm already so old. I don't have the strength anymore to cultivate vigorously. I try to work on the 4 foundations of mindfulness, but then I try to meditate, I just fall asleep. I don't have the strength now to truly apply effort.
比丘尼就告诉他，情况不是这样子的。我听说呢，有一位优婆吉多尊者呢，他可以来教导怎样子来修行的。
So the bhikshuni said, it's not like this. You have opportunity. I know there's another venerable named Yopo.
Yopo Jido.
Yopo Jido.
这个很有名的呀。
是 Upali? 是 Upali 吗？它名字中梵文是 Upali。
Yopo Jido，我不知道他这个。
Yopo Jido might be Upali. But Yopo Jido, who actually can teach those who are older.
所以呢，他会善巧的教导这个修这个数念次啊、主观啊，你去他那里去跟他学习，那你就可以得到圣道。所以他说好的，就这样子。
So she told him that you need to go to visit this venerable, and he will teach you how to cultivate and realize the way.
所以呢，这个老比丘呢，他就整理这个行李呢，然后就到优婆吉多的住的地方，然后，他发觉怎么会有一个人来看他来了，就 就出来给他打水，给他洗脚。
So he packed up his things and went to visit this senior monk, this Venerable Pali. And when he got there, he was greeted by a monk who came out to welcome him, take his bag, and wash his feet.
所以呢，这位老比丘就说啊，我没有见到优婆吉多尊者呢，我不洗脚。
So this older monk says, if I haven't seen this Yopo Jidor Venerable, then I will not wash my feet.
那旁边的人就告诉他说啊，为你打水的就是，要洗脚打水的就是优婆吉多尊者。
Yeah. Uptagupta? Okay. So Uptagupta, so he went to visit Uptagupta, and he said, until I see Uptagupta, I will not wash my feet. So somebody on to the side told him, actually the person who come out to wash your feet is Uptagupta, Venerable Uptagupta.
哇，他就非常的激动，非常喜欢，所以就把这个脚洗了。
So he was deeply moved and had his feet be washed.
所以呢，他们就进去优婆吉多的那里的修行地方，然后就打板叫大家去禅堂去静坐。
So he went inside the monastery and heard the boards to hit so that they could go and meditate.
所以呢，他就很多的这个当时的这个都来的，就是出家众啊，当然这个有很多阿罗汉也都来了。这一个名字叫做阿沙罗的老比丘呢，也在那里静坐。
So when the meditation started, there were many monastics at the monastery who came to join the sit. Many of them were also arhats. And there was one named Asma.
阿沙罗就是这个老比丘了，
就是他。
就是他了。
Oh, okay. So this old monk's named Asalo. And so I'll say older monk. So this older monk also joined the sit.
他做完以后呢，坐在里面呢，就打瞌睡，就睡着了。
So he joined the meditation sit and he started yawning and went to sleep.
他禅堂的规矩呢，你睡着了就会有维诺来警告你啊，警戒他一下，就会，而且同时这个维诺给他一盏灯。
So when you fall asleep in the chan hall, there's a Weno that comes by to wake you up. And so the Weno woke him up and also gave him a light.
所以呢，就换他去行香，就是换他去这个行走。
So gave him the job that he had to do the rounds and walk around and check up on everybody, so that way he couldn't fall asleep.
所以呢，他这个老比丘呢，他就拿着灯去行香。这时候呢，他去反正就要拿着灯嘛，然后就走嘛。他这时候他看到优婆吉多尊者呢，入火光三昧。
So there he walked around with this light to kind of do walking meditation. And as he did that, he saw Uptagupta meditating, and he had entered some
火光三昧。
The fire light samadhi.
哇，这个火光三昧，全身放光。不只是这样子，他坐在里面的所有出家阿罗汉呢，都是大放光明。
So he saw this Venerable Uptagupta radiating light, a lot of light, and he looked around, all the arhats there also radiated light.
所以呢，他看到这种的境界呢，他心里呢，非常的感动，就生出大欢喜。这一欢喜呢，他静的时候就不再打瞌睡了。
So he saw this and was deeply moved and was very, very happy. So after he had this kind of heart of rejoicing and happiness, he didn't fall asleep again when he was meditating.
所以呢，从此以后呢，他就努力的来修行。他不是很久的时候，他就证到了阿罗汉了。
So he really then applied effort in his practice, and not too long later, he realized arhatship.
所以呢，他得到阿罗汉了之后呢，他就向右佛吉尊者告假，回到他原来的住的地方。
So after he became an arhat, he paid his respect to Venerable Gupta, and also he left. So he first then told him he was going to leave, and paid his respects and left, and went back to his original place.
所以呢，他有了这个，就是前面的他回去这个住处以后呢，那有这个比丘尼又来看他，那个得到这个圣比丘尼又来看他呢，这位比丘尼就告诉他，哦，你今天呢看了才是真正的这个庄严啊。
So then the bhikshuni who had talked to him before came to visit him, and when she saw him, paid her respects, told him, "Wow, now you really have a dignified appearance."
所以呢，这个老比丘也就跟他说啊，多谢你的恩德啊，因为你的鼓励呢，我才有这样子的一个成就。
So the old monk said, "It's very grateful for you because it's because of your encouragement that I have the opportunity to really have this realization. So I'm very grateful for you."
所以呢，就是说我们修行的是最后要能够得到圣道，就是说要得到阿罗汉果。那你得到这一些圣道呢，就是可以得到解脱的。你所有的困境呢，一切困难都可以来解决的。
So when you cultivate, ultimately, we want to cultivate through some level of awakening. This is really important, so we get free of suffering. 你会讲那个树吗？我可以讲你的树吗？
好。
Okay, I was thinking, since it's on the tree, we actually have the Christmas tree here at Berkeley Monastery. And last week we pointed it out, but this week the tree has lots of lights on it and decorations on it. I don't know if somebody can turn the camera to point at the tree, just so people can see the Christmas tree. It's very, this is our Bodhi tree at the monastery. 所以我们上一个礼拜有讲到那个树，我们这个现在的树也有在 Berkeley， 你看有很多灯啊，有那个很多庄严品啊，很可以说很庄严。And so I was just reflecting on this particular passage and how it seems a bit miraculous that on the Pure Land there's this trees that have lights and make sounds, and from just listening or seeing these trees, you have a profound awakening and you're completely at ease. And I was thinking about this Christmas tree and my own childhood with Christmas trees, and I could see that decorations actually do have a profound effect on the heart if done in a particular way. I remember growing up at our home, and we didn't have a real Christmas tree. We have a Christmas tree that was made of plastic. And always the story in the house was this Christmas tree cost $5 because my parents found it at some garage sale. They found it at a garage sale. And this is a real tree, but ours was very environmentally sound. So it was a tree that you had to put together every year. And it's been since when I was a kid, we always had it. So I don't know how many years, probably 30 years now, 40 years, 40 years now. It's an old tree. But so every year we would put together this tree, you have to match up the colors, so that the tree trunk that's made of wood, and then you find the tree leaf to kind of branch, or do you put in? There's different size, right? The bigger one's on the bottom, and it goes up to the top. It looks very nice, a little Christmas tree. And then you string Christmas lights around it. Oftentimes they're colored, so this one's just white, but often there's like multicolored lights, and they flash in different colors. And I remember even at that time, we had a Christmas light that would play Christmas carols, and the lights would blink to the rhythm of the Christmas carol, right? Maybe jingle bells, jingle bells, jingle bells, or it could be, silent night, holy night, and the lights would go dun 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 dun. And so I remember just as a kid having the Christmas tree in the home. It's just during that time of the year, and for a child, it just brings a sense of warmth and safety and a kind of happiness, a kind of like a delight to see something that is, I don't know if you could say beautiful, but it's you could say radiant. And I think it's because during this time of the year, everything's very, very dark outside. If you look, it's kind of near the solstice time, so it's basically the darkest time of the year. So having a lighted tree kind of gives a contrast, that there's a kind of safety in that light. 所以我想这个圣诞树呢，我小时候我们要自己来做，是一个假圣诞树。我记得那时候我的母亲，我们父母常常会说，这个圣诞树是5块钱买的，在 garage sale， 不知道 garage sale 是叫中文怎么说
？garage sale 就是
garage sale，
那个
客房车库的买卖
贩卖啊，
贩卖对，他们找到5块钱，所以我记得每一年都是来做这个树，要把它大的那个树枝放在下面，然后做好，然后我们会有一些灯啊，那个灯是不同的颜色，所以有红的、绿的、黄的等等等等。然后这个灯呢，也会有一个小小机器在旁边，就像我们念佛机一样，但这不是念佛的。我们可以做个念佛机的圣诞树的那个，也蛮有意思的。但是就是他们会有播什么音乐呢？就是播圣诞歌，然后那个灯会用那个歌的这个
一亮，
就是那个圣诞歌的这个那个快速来亮。我记得那时候年轻那个孩子的时候，看那个圣诞树会心里有个温软的感觉，一个光明的感觉，快乐的感觉。因为我想那时候呢，我们的外面非常黑暗，看现在我们是在每一年当中是最多黑暗的时候，是这个圣诞树是一个很光明的，让我们感觉上是有一个安全的。温暖的一个地方。So it's interesting that a tree that's adorned, you could say, can actually have this kind of effect in the heart for a young person. But I think even now, as we circumambulate the Buddha Hall and we see the Christmas tree, there's a sense that how would you describe it? It's that somebody cares. That somebody cares enough to put up a tree, decorate it in a way to
光明来了，要过年了。
Yeah, to give a sense of happy. Like I hope you find happiness here. It's a kind of a wish. You could say it's kind of like kindness, a wish of loving kindness, saying, may you be well. We say Merry Christmas usually, to say we wish you well. And the tree kind of symbolizes that as a kind of a manifestation, as an object. 所以这个我想这个圣诞树年轻孩子可能有更大的影响，那现在也有，我们在像念佛的时候看到树 就一个感觉，一个有人要照顾，有人有这个慈悲心。我们常常会说圣诞节快乐，就是祝大家快乐。那这个时候，所以这个树呢，就是有这样子的一个可以说作用。Now, of course, in Amitabha Buddha's Pure Land, the tree is, as Jing Forher said, something that's far beyond what we have in our Saha world. But it's interesting to see that we do have a corollary, and as human beings, we actually create trees with lights and sounds and smells and all the different things for the six senses. And I think the effect of it is actually a sense of peace and happiness when we see it. We don't usually see a Christmas tree all kind of covered and we feel really greedy or something. I don't know, maybe some people do. Maybe at a supermarket they put advertisements on it, I don't know. But in general, I think Christmas trees just have a sense that, may you be well. This is the time of year where it's families gather and people take care of each other and remember that, human beings need to live in harmony if we're going to survive on this planet. 所以我想这个圣诞树，我们大部分的人看的呢，不是起这个贪爱的心、执着的心。我不知道，可能在那个 supermarket 那个在店里面他们做树，我不知道他们有没有这个那个什么那个 advertisement 叫什么？这个广告有没有广告在树上？但是我想大部分没看到这个广告在树上，大部分都是就是简单的，有灯啊等等。我想要给我们这个感觉是，看的呢就让我们心会有这个快乐清净的感觉。我想这个是对我们现在的时候是一个好的一个提醒。所以像极乐世界这样子的树也是这样子的一个作用，但是树是常常在那边，那树比我们不是要我们人来造出来的，或者要拿一个树然后自己来庄严，反而这些树自然就有这样子的这个很微妙的这庄严的相，也会让我们很深深的快乐跟平安。这到怎么地步呢？到我们真正达到这个佛法的深深的法软这个地步。So the tree in the Pure Land isn't just kind of a superficial happiness. It actually goes very deep. It actually brings all the way down to the profound patience of dharmas and helps us realize Buddhahood. And so this is, you can say, a tree that helps us go very, very deep in our practice. So just want to share that and say that we have a Christmas tree here, and in some way you could say it's a Bodhi tree. And depends on how we look at it. If we look at it from a certain angle, we might see it as a reminder of the Pure Land tree, the trees in the Pure Land. And I was just a little bit joking, but also a little bit serious that when I was a kid, we had those music boxes that would play Christmas carols, and the lights would be synchronized with them. We could have little Amitabha Buddha boxes, and it could recite Namo Amitabha, and the lights could flash Namo Amitabha. So that would be definitely a Buddhist Christmas tree. And our Christmas tree, we have the Buddha on top. People haven't noticed during the evening ceremonies. 在我们的这个道场树上，这个圣诞树上，我们上面是一个佛像，你看到吗？金佛师，看到上面有佛像。
Yeah. Okay.
So I don't know how many Christmas trees have a Buddha on top, but probably we were probably one of the few. 好，
所以这个刚才讲的就是说我们能够要离开这些苦难了。刚才讲了要离开这个苦难，我们就是来学习佛法。那在这个佛陀的时代呢，他也会来教导一些人来学习佛法的。在法纪经里面呢， 有一篇呢，他第九品里面呢，他来教导一家全家的人来明白佛法、领悟佛法，而且这个非常特殊的，这个是一个打猎的人的一个全家的家庭。
So here's another story about leaving suffering. This happened in the Buddha's time, where he taught a family how to leave suffering. And this comes from the Dhammapada, the 9th chapter. And this family is actually interesting because they're actually a family of hunters.
他这个当时佛在王守城嘛，然后呢，它里面呢，王守城里面呢，有一个非常年轻的很富豪的这个女孩子呢，她是了解佛法，她确实了解这个佛法。那有一天呢，有一个人的名字叫做，就是他的这个基古达米，他是一个猎人呢，来到这个王守城来卖他打到这个野兽的这个肉，来贩卖这个兽肉这样子。
So during this Buddha's time, there was a young family with a girl who was actually studied some Dharma, understand some Buddha Dharma. So one day there was a person named Jikudami, who was a hunter who came to the village where she was at, and to the family, and he was selling the meat of the animals that he hunted.
Yeah. 所以呢，这个女孩子呢，一看到他呢，哇，就不得了，就爱上了他，而且就跟他在一起。后来他们就结婚，就结婚以后就住在一个小村落里面这样子。
So this young girl saw this hunter and immediately fell in love with him, and so then they ended up marrying and living together in another kind of area, a little small village.
Yeah.
Kukutamita. Okay, so the
Kukutamita.
Kukutamita.
Yeah. 那这个时间过了以后呢，哇，他们总共生了7个小孩子。然后这个7个小孩子呢，后来就长大以后就结婚了，各自结婚了。
So they had 7 children, and the 7 children grew older, and each of them also had their own families and got married.
Yeah. 所以呢，有一天这个早上呢，佛陀就观察到，这一对夫妻的家人啊，就是说他们的所有的家人呢，他都可以领悟到佛法，可以来给他们机会，来教导他们这个领悟到这个佛法。
So one day the Buddha was reflecting on those who could learn the Dharma, and he could see that this family had the potential to really wake up and understand the Dharma.
所以呢，他这个佛陀就去那个猎人的地方呢的这个林子里面，因为他们都会有做那个陷阱，他们要抓这个野兽，所以佛陀就去他们陷阱的地方呢，他故意留下他的这个脚迹，然后在就是佛陀走的这个脚迹，但是他离开这个陷阱的地方呢，的一个树木底下坐下来。
So he wanted to go visit the hunter family. So he went to the place where the hunters had placed a trap, because they have traps to catch the wild animals. So he went there and he purposefully left a footprint of his near the trap and went to a nearby place to meditate or to just sit down.
所以呢，那后来这个大人呢， 也来过来看，哎，他说怎么没有任何的动物掉在这个陷阱，所以而且他又发现到有一个人坐在这个树木底下的这个佛头，他认为呢，这个佛头就是来放走动物的人。
So then the hunter came later and saw there's no animals in the trap, but instead he saw there's this person sitting next to the tree, and he thought this person must have released the animal that was trapped.
所以呢，他就这样子察觉到，他就心里面的非常的就发怒，然后拿起弓箭就准备向佛陀来发射出去，要打射这个佛陀。
So this hunter got extremely angry and wanted to shoot the Buddha with his arrow.
但是正在他拉弓的时候呢，他全身就僵住了，没有办法动，就像一个雕像一样。
So although he just pulled the bow, his whole body froze and he couldn't move. He became like a statue.
这时候呢，他们的小孩子也在后面，也是这样子来要赶过来看他们的这个抓到的这个这些野兽，但是他看到呢，这个他的父亲在那里，所以呢，他们这个小孩子也拿出来这个弓箭，准备要射这个佛头。
So the children of the father came over, also looking to see what animal was caught in the trap. And they saw their father standing there pulling the bow and frozen. So they all also pulled their bow and arrows, aiming it at the Buddha.
所以呢，他们也一样的要射佛陀，但是他们拿弓箭起来，全部也都是动弹不得，就僵在那里。
So they all pulled their bow, wanting to shoot the Buddha, but all of them was frozen in place.
之后呢，这个那人的太太呢，还有所有的这个儿媳妇呢，就是他们一家人呢，在等不到丈夫他们回来，他们也都赶过来看。那个一看到这个那人跟小孩子呢，都弓箭都是向着这个佛头，然后他的这个太太呢，就是说你们不可以杀死我的父亲。
So they were all frozen there with their bows drawn and shooting at the Buddha. And so they were there for a while, and the wife and some others in the family became curious. What happened? Where'd her husband go and all the others? So she came out looking for them and found the trap area and saw her husband with some of the children with their bows drawn, frozen, aimed at the Buddha. And she said, "No, no, no! You can't kill my father."
所以呢，这个那人一听到这个太太的叫声呢，他当时的心里就想着说，原来前面的这个树下的人呢，他一定是我的丈人，我的丈人。
丈人是他的
丈人就是
father-in-law?
Yeah, father-in-law. Yeah.
So, yes, I don't quite understand what's going on, but it's okay. So the husband heard his wife say, that this was her father, and so he thought, this actually might be my father-in-law.
然后呢，这些小孩子也听到他妈妈这样子在叫啊，说是他的父亲啊，他们就想说，这个一定是我的外祖父。
So the children also who held their bows drawn thought to themselves, this must be our grandfather, I guess you could say.
所以呢，他们有这样子的一个想法之后呢，所以呢，他们这个整个心变成很慈爱、关爱的心呢，这样子就升起了这个关爱的心。这时候，那人太太又说话了。
So at this point, their hearts softened and became kind. And at that point, the woman also said something else.
所以呢，就跟他说啊，放下你们的弓跟箭呢，向我的父亲顶礼问讯。
So she said, "Put down your bow and arrows, and we can pay our respects to my father."
所以这个佛陀知道这个那人还有他的孩子内心呢，全部都没有杀意，都是慈悲的，所以就让他们来移动身子，给他们，所以他们呢，这时候他们全部都放下弓箭。
So at this point, the Buddha knew that they were kind of free of hatred and had kindness in their hearts. So he allowed them to move, and they put down their bow and arrows.
所以呢，他们放下弓箭以后呢，大家都一起来跟佛陀顶礼问讯这样子，然后呢，佛陀就给他们来讲说佛法。后来呢，他们全部一家人都能够明白这个真正的这个佛法。
So they then actually all bowed to the Buddha, and the Buddha taught them the Dharma, and they all had some level of understanding of the Dharma.
所以呢，这个佛陀回到精舍，就是回到他的佛陀的地方呢，他就向其他的比丘们呢来讲这个整个打猎的全家的这个故事。
So the Buddha then returned back to the monastery and told the bhikshus this whole story and the backstory.
然后呢，就当时就有比丘来问佛陀说：“世尊啊，已经了解佛法的那类人太太啊，就是他的太太类人太太呢，来帮助丈夫还有小孩子准备外出打猎的这个弓箭跟罗王，是不是犯了杀生的之罪呢？有没有犯这个罪呢？”
So then one of the bhikshus heard this story from the Buddha and asked the Buddha, this wife who already understands the Dharma, who married this hunter, and she helped the hunter and her children prepare all the hunting gear, the bow and arrows and the trap and things. Did she create the offense of killing?
对，他是不是这样子？有没有犯这个杀生之罪？那佛陀回答说啊，这个正出国的人呢，不会杀生，不杀生，他们不愿意众生给人家来所杀。
So the Buddha's response is that the first stage arhat, they will not cause any living being any harm. They will not kill.
那这个猎人的妻子呢，她只是遵从这个打猎人的她丈夫的命令呢，来准备弓跟箭，她心中从来没有帮助丈夫去杀生的这个念头。
So this wife only followed. 她说这个太太已经是出国了。
对，应该是她
So
这
this
国
wife is already a kind of a Shotapana, first stage arhat. And so he says that when she was only following the instructions of her husband, she did not have any intention or wish in her heart to help her husband kill any animal.
她没有那个杀生的念头。
Didn't have an intention to kill at all.
所以呢，而且她手掌也没有伤口，不会受毒药感染，同理，她没有作恶的意图，所以她没有犯任何的恶业的这种杀生的这个罪。
So she didn't have any intention. She didn't do anything. 她说没有做毒啊。
她是说她的手没有伤口了，
She
没有
didn't have
受
any
伤啊，
any
不会。
damages on her hands, so that didn't get any poison in her hand, and so she did not hurt any living being. So she didn't create any offense.
所以呢，他这个真正的这个经典的意义呢，就是他说啊，这个手掌啊没有伤口， 就可以来奉持毒药，毒药不会伤害没有伤口的人。
So she says a hand without any kind of cuts on it can hold poison, and the poison will not hurt the hand because there's no place for the poison to go in.
就是说，所以毒药你反正毒药是毒药，你的手伤口，你就没有伤口，你就不会有受毒药的这个意思。同理呢，同样道理，不做恶业的人不会受恶报。
So similarly, those who do not do harmful actions will not receive harmful results.
Yeah.
Maybe say just share a little bit on that. 故事讲完了。
Yeah, 这个是讲。
So it's an interesting story about Buddha teaching the hunters, and also the bhikshu's question at the end. I think though we do want to be aware that in the Buddhist tradition, the Buddha was quite clear that having an occupation as a hunter is considered not a skillful livelihood because it harms living beings. And maybe she didn't break a precept because she didn't have the intention to kill, and also because she's the first stage arhat. I'm not sure if most of us have that kind of purity to be able to be involved in, say, hunting and not have any intent to kill, or kind of be at all involved in the karmic conditions of it. And so I think in general for us, it's best to see if we can find a livelihood or encourage maybe our family members, if that we have to contribute in the family business or something, to find work that is actually harmless, or even better, beneficial, in service to life, in service to living beings, rather than harming living beings. That might be hard because it requires really maybe even changing our occupation. But in the long run, you can see our karma will thank us for it, because otherwise we just keep on the cycle of death and harm for other living beings, and we're just kind of caught in that cycle. 所以这个故事就蛮有意思的，就是关于这个打猎的这个故事。一个是佛陀的慈悲，但另外是这个比丘跟佛陀问这个问题，关于这个太太。我想佛教里面很清楚，这个正命是什么呢？是不杀生的生命。我们不要有去打猎啊，或者实验动物啊，或者有什么东西会伤害人、伤害众生的这个工作。反而最好是我们做的工作是帮助众生的、利益众生的。所以但是在这边这个女众呢，这个太太呢，她已经成出果阿罗汉了，她心已经非常清净了。她在这方面帮忙的时候，她就可能没有这个意念是想要伤害就是跟着这个真正情况。但是我想我们大部分，如果我们在世界上呢，如果可以呢，找一个工作是没有伤害众生的。如果我们家庭有工作是伤害到众生，然后我们也要去帮忙呢，最好是如果我们可以帮助家庭找到另外一个方式来保持生命、赚钱。因为如果我们是在我们的生命当中一直做的工作是伤害众生的，我们这个因果是我们最后是需要怎么担受的，我们会受的。所以我们说，虽然我开始可能会不舒服，我们找另外一个工作、另外的方法来生活，但是从一个长久的方面来看，是值得的。Yeah. Also, I just mentioned that the Buddha's in this story, you can see the Buddha's compassion, that he also goes on to teach the hunters when he gets the chance. So he's not discriminating in the sense of, oh, these people I like, these people I don't, but rather he looks to potential. When there's people who have the potential to wake up, he shows up to teach them. Yeah?
时间差不多，我们是不是要结束，或者是我们在
9点了，对，9点了。 好，可能要
看有没有
跟大家
问题。
有没有问 any questions? No. Okay, so maybe make a couple announcements. So no, Reverend Hung Sure will actually be giving a lecture for Dharma Master Young's. Let me see here. Where is it? On December 19th and December 26th, and Reverend Hung Sure's title is Translating Chinese Buddhist Liturgy, Getting the Ceremonies Right. And so if you're interested, it's on the 19th and the 26th. And it'll be on another YouTube channel called CTTB Live. I think you can find it online or on the CTTB website. Maybe someone can help put it in the chat box, the link, on at least the CTTB Live link. I don't know if the lecture's already online, but people are interested. I think it should be bilingual. 所以如果有兴趣，12月19号跟26号，恒师法师会讲到怎么把我们中文的这个念诵啊、经文啊翻译成英文，把它全部翻译成英文。所以这个是12月19号跟26号，在我们万佛生成的这个 YouTube 的这个广播台上，大家可以在那边找到，我会放在我们网上。另外呢，我想还有什么题目，还有什么要跟大家报告吗？我们这个礼拜，明天就是 Marty 最后一个课，然后我们就寒假了。So tomorrow is the last day of Marty's lectures for this semester, and then we'll take a little bit of a winter break. 但是我们这个会继续，我们对不对？我们这个无量寿经的讲法会继续。So on Thursday we'll continue to investigate the Infinite Life Sutra. 好吧
Yeah.
Okay, so let's dedicate merit. And if you're going home for the holidays, wish you safe travels. And also, maybe not just physical safety, but emotional and spiritual safety. Meaning we want to keep our hearts safe by abiding in a heart of loving kindness. Don't get any aversion or irritation. Don't let that take over the mind and heart. And especially our spiritual well-being, make sure we take time to practice, to meditate, to recite the Buddha's name. And if we're traveling, we can keep reciting in our hearts.
Yeah. 那个最近好像那个庙孔的这个细菌啊，也非常厉害的。那我们最重要，希望说大家都保持念大悲咒的，继续念大悲咒，不要停。然后念佛的，就是我们都要常常心里念佛。那像这一些什么COVID-19 啊，或者说庙孔啊，我想它是没有办法侵入的，因为我们的这个都是有力量的，所以希望在这个冬天要非常小心，希望大家努力加油 ，Yeah。
So 我刚刚就说，我们现在大家可能要回家了，快那个圣诞节了，所以大家保持安全，身体安全，心理安全，身心嘛，
身心清净，
身心，这是 spiritual， 这是森林安全，就是我们好好保护自己，精神安全，我们的心保持个慈悲心，不要有烦恼，不要嗔恨，然后我们修行还是保持念佛啊，还是打坐啊，等等，不要放弃，非常重要。
Okay.
So, Jifo was just sharing that during this time with the COVID, it'd be really good for people to keep practicing. That can help us. I don't know if you could say it's scientifically proven, but you could say one approach is to say, by reciting the Buddha's name and reciting the Great Compassion mantra, there's definitely a kind of protection that comes with that can help us maybe not get sick or not get so affected by the pandemic. And even if you do get the pandemic, if our hearts is peaceful, then maybe we'll recover smoothly, or we we will have a kind of peaceful heart, even when we're in a difficult situation. 好吧？
OK，
回向功德。
回向。
May every living being, our minds as one and radiant with light, share the fruits of peace with hearts of goodness, luminous and bright. If people hear and see how hands and hearts can find in giving unity, may our minds awake to great compassion, wisdom, and to joy. May kindness find reward. May all who sorrow leave their grief and pain. May this boundless light dispel the darkness of our endless night. Because our hearts are one, this world of pain turns into paradise. May all become compassionate and wise. May all become compassionate and wise. Bow in respect to the Venerable Master. Okay, so that concludes our evening lecture. Hope you can join us next week.
OK，好，
阿弥陀佛。
阿弥陀佛。